Good afternoon and welcome to another installment of our Saturday Kids Safari. I hope that you have all had a wonderful week and that you're excited to join us for the next hour of an amazing sort of trail through the wilderness. Hopefully it will be a successful one. My name is Tristan. On camera I've got Craig this afternoon, and it is a very, very warm welcome to all of you that have joined us. Remember that we are coming to you live, which means we would like for all of you to interact with us, and you can do that on Nat Geo Kids wildebeest.tv, and you'll be able to ask your parents to send those questions through, and hopefully we'll get lots and lots from all of you, and we'll be able to answer them as many as we can. Good. Now the plan is for this afternoon, the sun is out, which is great. We had a nice bright start to the day, and then it got very cloudy and cold, and now the sun has come out and it's starting to get a little bit warmer, which is very, very nice. You can see there the clouds are slowly just moving away. The good news is, though, is that this morning we had a very, very busy drive. We saw lots of interesting things, and so we're going to head up to the northwestern part of our reserve and try and see if we can get any sign of 3 cheetahs that were seen. Now, they were right on our boundary, on our northern boundary, and they might have disappeared, but it's worth the gamble. So we're going to head up that way and hope for the best, and hope that we will be able to find these cheetah and see that maybe they're resting up somewhere under a bit of shade. That's the idea behind it anyway. Failing that, well, then we're going to head off to the sort of central parts of the reserve, and we're going to go look for one of my favorite cats in the whole world, and his name is Hosanna, which is a young male leopard. And we're going to go try to see if we can find him, because I saw him on foot this morning, and so I'm hoping that he'll also be around. So lots and lots of options, and so while we do that, let's send you across to my friend Sydney, who can tell you what his plans are for the afternoon.
A very, very good afternoon, boys and girls, and welcome to the beginning of the school drive. I am Sydney Fumunani Mikosi, and I'm traveling with Senzo, who is my camera operator this afternoon. Please don't forget to ask your parents to ask us questions on Nat Geo Kids at wildebeest.tv. So my plan this afternoon, I will be looking for some lions for you. This morning I was lucky with one of these male lions. So now I am going to be searching on the other area of the park where I heard there has been another sighting this morning. So during the day, the lions, they prefer to sleep. They can sleep for about 18 hours. That is a lot. So the lion I saw this morning, one of the males, he has just been to the water holes a few hours ago. So I'm sure after drinking, he went to sleep somewhere here. Maybe as time goes on, we might be lucky and see him too. So now let's go to the Masai Mara. James, who you have not yet met, I think he's got the buffaloes and lions at the moment.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this end of our very special Nat Geo Kids Sunset Safari. We're sitting with some buffalo, and we're also sitting with some lions. Now, my name is James Henry, and we're sitting with the pride of lions that's actually just killed a buffalo, and they're busy eating it, some of them are already finished eating. The ones we're going to look at now, having a bit of a actually cleaning each other's faces. That's how nice they are to each other. Please talk to us, ask us any questions you like, or ask your parents to ask us questions. And you can do that by telling them to send an email to questions at Nat Geo Kids at wildebeest.tv. That's Nat Geo Kids at wildebeest.tv. We'd love to have any questions or comments that you might want to give us. And this pride is known as the Olulolo Pride, and they're named after the very big mountain behind us. And this very big mountain sits in East Africa, up in a country called Kenya. A magnificent country, very famous for its wildlife, and the pride takes its name from this mountain called the Olulolo Escarpment. And while you're sitting at home there, I challenge you to say Olulolo very fast, many times. See if you can do it. Olulolo, 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 Olulolo. I'm going to stop now because it's just a bit silly. It's quite chilly at the moment. The temperature's probably sitting at around about, I'm going to guess, 68 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit or so. We've had a bit of rain this afternoon, which has cooled things down. There may be a little bit more rain, but hopefully the sun will come out and we'll have a glorious African evening here in Kenya, in East Africa. Now, there are 14 lions in this pride. I'm not entirely sure how many of them are adults and how many of them are youngsters. I think it's 5 adults and the rest are youngsters, so it's quite a big pride. It takes a lot to feed them. Now, the reason they do that cleaning of each other that you can see going on there is that, one, it helps them to remain friendly, because often when they're eating they are not friendly to each other at all. They fight quite a lot. You can imagine, I don't know, 3 or 4 kids and 1 chocolate bar between them. Well, they might fight with each other, and then afterwards they might say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to punch you in the face there, or I didn't mean to pull your hair, or I didn't mean to pull your ear, or pull your ponytail, that sort of thing. And that's exactly what's going on here. So these lions are saying to each other, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bite you there, I didn't mean to scratch you. All's forgiven, and we had a good meal together. That's the one reason they're cleaning each other. The other is, of course, they don't want to smell like their food. Those guys are just too tired. Oh, I'm very sorry, I did not actually introduce you to the cameraman today. His name is the great Manu Akatsa. There he is, and he is from outer space. In fact, he's not. He's from Nairobi, which is about the same as being from outer space, actually. So let's go back to the lions over there. And it just always amazes me. I'm sitting here, I put my jacket on because I think it's quite cold. But the lions don't seem to mind. And that's because they don't really have a choice. They could go and sit in some very thick bush, I suppose. But the fact that they have very full bellies is making them quite warm. Their stomachs are pumping up and down. And all that digesting produces quite a lot of heat in the body. And perhaps that's keeping them warm. Oh, and they're so happy now because they're full. They don't have to hunt tonight. They can just sleep and sleep. BJ, I do sometimes get scared when I'm out here, but interestingly not when I'm sitting with lions like this, because I'm used to being around them. I'm used to being around them in vehicles, and I know that they won't react to the vehicle. But if I was to be walking through here, I might get a little bit nervous. What makes me nervous here is the weather. The weather is quite scary sometimes. The storms are very, very powerful, and the wind's very strong. And when those winds come through and the rain starts to batter down and the car starts to shake, well, then it can be a little bit scary. Also, if I was to come across one of those buffalo in the night in one of our camps, I'd be quite scared, because the buffalo do come quite close to the camp. I'm sure you can hear the wind blowing. It is quite a chilly wind. You can see how happy those lions look. Don't they look so satisfied? So very pleased that they don't have to go hunting, that they can just enjoy their big, full, fat bellies, like you guys after a Thanksgiving meal. Ruben, an interesting question. You're obviously not a very small child, asking about how many coalitions of male lions we have here in the Masai Mara. Well, Ruben, we have the Kichwa boys up here. They are 2, I think, at the moment. There may be 3 of them left. I'm not entirely sure. Certainly were 3. There may just be 2 left. Then we have got a new coalition of Kipuli and his 2 youngsters. They originally came from the Sausage Tree Pride. Well, at least 2 of them did. And then there are the famous Musketeer coalition of 4 males. People say they are led by Scarface, the very famous male lion. They aren't led by him, but he's the most recognizable one because he's got a missing left eyelid. Is it his left eyelid? I feel like it's his right eyelid, it's not his left eyelid. He's missing his right eyelid, and he's a very, very well-known lion, possibly the most famous lion in the world, actually. And they operate on both sides of the Mara Triangle. We're in the Mara Triangle, of course, which is about 50,000 hectares, which is about 110,000 acres. And in this area, those are the dominant male coalitions. There are another group called the Oldonyo males down in the south. We don't spend a lot of time with them, and I think there's another new coalition in the south as well that I'm not too familiar with. So that's the basic idea of who the males are in this area. Now, unfortunately, I think the rain is going to hit us again, but we should be all right for a little while longer. Now, this fellow, interestingly, decided that he was going to go and hunt some more buffalo on his own. There we are. That's a young female, in fact. And now is too tired to go hunting anything right now, too full. And lions in this area, quite interestingly, will often hunt if they can, even if it is easier. Now, I bet many of you didn't know this, but Sydney in South Africa apparently has his very own dam, and Tristan is there now.
Well, yes, we are at a dam that is named after Sydney, but not the Sydney that you've been seeing this afternoon, a different Sydney. Unfortunately, though, this dam is dry, and this is where the cheetahs were this morning. But what we can see is that there's probably no cheetahs around now. As you can see, there's lots of impalas that are moving about, and they look very relaxed. Now, impalas are a big prey item for cheetahs, particularly 3 cheetahs of the size that we saw this morning. They would love an impala breakfast or lunch, and so you'll find if they were around here, these impalas probably in all likelihood wouldn't be as calm as what they are. You'll also notice as the impalas are walking off in the background, there are some zebras also around, and so they're having a bit of a graze in this nice clearing that we've got close to where this water point is. Now, unfortunately, there's not much water here, but at least the grazing makes up for it, and these guys can have a little bit of a feed on the grass itself. And so always nice to see zebras. We don't see zebras like James sees zebras up in the Masai Mara. Out here, there's very few zebras in small groups together, whereas up where James is, you get the migration, which is just starting to leave Kenya and going back to Tanzania, and that migration will have thousands and thousands of zebras and wildebeest that will go up and down, and they will feed off all the really nutrient-rich grass, as well as go towards the Mara River for water. And so you'll find that it's a really great place to go and see zebras. Here in the Sabi Sands, most of our zebra herds are very, very small. There's only a few of them that are around, and they tend to be in kind of small pockets wherever there's an open clearing. If there's thickets, then they kind of just bypass through it. They walk through that, and then they try and rest in these kind of areas. Now, the zebra on the right-hand side looks like it's a very pregnant female. You can see its tummy is hanging, so there should be quite a well-developed baby inside of that zebra, and so she's quite heavy, and I wonder, probably I would say within the next month she'll be having her little foal, which will be quite nice. It's nice at this time of the year because we're kind of going into spring summertime, which means that there should be quite a few little babies that should come out and be able to actually kind of see. Now, I wonder if the cheetahs haven't killed already, because if you look to the left of the zebras, there's lots and lots of vultures that are coming out. Now, that's way off our area. That's north of what is deemed our boundary. We're right on our northern boundary, so the animals can move around, but we can't. But all those vultures taking off there, oh, bless you, Craig. The bats just sneezed. So for those of you who don't know, Craig is the Batman. That's what we call him, batters. And so there the vultures are flying. And now I wonder if those vultures, they all just came off the ground. And often what you'll find is when cheetahs kill, lots and lots of vultures will come in and they will kind of dominate that area, and sometimes can even chase cheetahs off. So it wouldn't surprise me if they did. I wonder if maybe, just maybe, if we clever about this, if we come back here a little bit later, because if they've eaten, they'll want to drink afterwards, and normally they'll then go to the closest water point. Now, the closest water point from there is a little water point right here, and so they might come back and have water later this afternoon. So maybe not now, but if we come here just around sort of sunset time, then maybe we'll get lucky and we'll be able to find these 3 cheetahs in this area. So we'll have a little look around. Unfortunately, though, no sign of them now, so we're going to carry on. We'll come back, like I say, later. We're going to go see if we can find the other spotted cat that we get in this area in the form of a leopard. So we're going to go and head in that direction and see if we get lucky. But nice anyway, nice to see the zebras and the impalas and them walking around. And so while we do that, I believe Sydney has found something, but I'm not sure what.
So you can see I've got the king of the jungle himself. He is just now very relaxed under a very small tree. Now the tree doesn't have any leaves, but it's making a difference because branches are giving this big lion some shade. So it's two of them. The female is lying down on the other side. It's difficult to see the female from where I am, but we're just going to enjoy the sighting of the male at the moment, and then I will move forward a little bit so that we can have a better sighting and see both a male and a female. So normally by this time of the day, the lions are sleeping completely. So I'm very surprised to see this very active male when the sun is hot like this. But you can see he looks tired. He doesn't have all the energy. They use the daytime in order to conserve their energy so that they can do their activities, which include hunting at night. So if they travel long distances during the day, they won't have that much power in order to travel long distances. Territorial males also got a huge responsibility of patrolling their territories. So a territory is a small piece of land demarcated by these male animals to stay in together with their families. And they defend this small land against the other males. There you go. He's doing what we were just talking about. So the female is not very close to where the male is. She's just a little bit far away. But I will pull forward. It's just that there's other vehicles where I am here who are also enjoying the sighting. Soon as the other vehicle pulls, I will then move further in order to have a better sighting. So there is a big difference between a male and a female's appearance. And I would like to share the difference between these two when I'm nice and close. So it is sleeping time now. So I can see that the stomachs, they are not empty. There is something by the stomach. They have been feeding these kind of animals. So these cats are not very far away from the waterhole. The waterhole is just behind me, a couple of 100 meters away from here, 250 meters maybe is where the waterhole is. So we might be lucky and see them walking for drinking by the waterhole. So now let's go to James by the Masai Mara, who's got something lovely up by the tree.
Here we sit with our lions who are currently eating. We don't want to show you that rather disgusting scene, so we're going to show you something that's hoping the lions will not finish their food. That, of course, is a large white-backed vulture. And it's one of 5 vulture species we get over here. And he's looking very wet and bedraggled. In other words, he looks like he'd struggle to fly because his feathers are all wet. There are a few of them up to the left of that as well, Manu, if you'd like to show those. You might also just be able to hear the pitter-patter of rain. We are being circled by a storm. So far it hasn't hit us, so that's good. But just to warn you, if suddenly we look at that, if we suddenly start jumping around and putting covers down, you'll know why, because that thing is coming towards us at quite a speed. Now, even though it looks like it's quite close, quite often a storm like that will sort of wear itself out, if you like. It'll empty all its water before it gets to us. But if you look at the way the rain there is bending, that means the wind is blowing from that rain towards us. And so we may be in a little bit of trouble. Krista, there are so many insects here in the Masai Mara, you can't believe it. And after a rain like this, if we then get some sun, there will be flies and butterflies and grasshoppers and even things like cockroaches and termites and ants and bees and wasps and mantises and all sorts of beautiful insects. And beetles, of course, lots of beetles. Dung beetles and fruit chaffers and other interesting kinds of beetles. So yes, I think that there will be lots of insects once the sun comes out again, probably tomorrow morning. Yoo, and a bit of lightning. You might be able to hear the thunder. All right, everybody, let's go back to the sunshine of South Africa. We're probably going to have to pull down our flaps, and hopefully we'll see you in the not too distant future. Lion seems to be relieving itself.
So I am now trying to position myself so that we can have a good sighting of the female, which is just lying next to the road at the moment. So that is our female lion. So if you look at this female nicely, you will see that the female doesn't have hairs here on the neck, and the males, they've got hairs on the neck. So when the male is standing, they look much bigger than these females. So the hairs, which is by the males by the neck, helps them when they are fighting. It helps them to protect the neck, because some of them, mostly, that is where they bite each other. So let's hope that female is going to wake up so that we can see her in full. So here by the lions is very interesting, because the males, they have got a very powerful, they've got very powerful strength, but they are not responsible to bring food home. Who is responsible to bring food home is the females. So females, they look smaller, but they must have to be the one to get the food for everyone to eat. So at the moment, it's very much difficult to identify the female because the eyes are closed. And if I look nicely, I can see that I can only see the false eye. On top of the real eye, you can see there's another mark which looks like an eye. But when the eyes are open, these cats, we can easily identify them, as there is one popular female called the amber eye, which has got the amber eyes. Maybe if this female decides to wake up at any time, we can easily then identify her. So now let's go to Tristan, who's got a lovely female kudu.
I do. I've got a cousin of the animal that those lions potentially are going to eat in the form of that nyala. And so we can see this kudu is having a little feed. Very interesting is that it's by itself. I can't see any other signs of kudus around. Now, normally when you see a female kudu, she'll be with others and she'll try and find a kind of group that they'll stick together. Remember, more eyes and ears are always good for kudus in terms of being able to stay nice and safe. Now, I'm going to try go back a little bit for Craig because he doesn't have the best sort of view of that kudu as it's moving away from us a little bit. Craig, you tell me when is better for you. How about there, Craig? Don't go away, Kudu. Now, the Kudu's now gone, I think, into a slightly better spot, has it not? Yes, it's right there. There we go. That's a bit better. We can see it nicely now. I can see those massive big ears that they have. And don't go over the mound. Of course you will. Now that I've repositioned, it's going to move away from us. But they'll be quite happy. We've had a bit of rain over the last couple of weeks. Not very much, but enough to start the process of leaves growing on the trees. And Kudu, being browsers, are going to be very happy that there's new little leaflets. It means very good nutrition for them after a hard winter. And so they should start picking up a little bit of weight, which will be nice. They'll start to feel a little bit healthier, and obviously a lot of them will be pregnant around this time. Kudu generally can give birth at any time of the year, but most of them would be around this sort of period when it's getting to spring, summer. You'll find most of the antelope try and time their well, not time it, but I mean they have their young during this period because of the influx of food. So as it rains, vegetation grows, and therefore much more food to eat and healthier conditions for a little baby to grow up and survive. Remember that when they're young, they're very, 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 very easy to kind of be hunted, and so they need to eat and get strong and grow quickly, and that means that they need to eat a lot of very healthy plants. And if it's winter, it's going to be a bit tricky to get that, and their growth will be stunted, and it will make it easier for things like lion and leopard and cheetah to be able to hunt them. So important that they do feed very well in the summer months. Now there's another little antelope that we get in this area. Hopefully it will stay, because they can sometimes run. Let me go forward a bit for you, Craig. No, don't run, Steenbok. Of course you're going to run behind the thicket now, aren't you? Yes, you see now it's hiding itself behind there. You can just see its ears. Now there's its little ears behind there. Not ideal to be able to see it. Have you spotted another one, Craig? What have you got there? Oh, there's a Steenbok running in that direction. Not ideal, disappearing behind the thickets. I'll try and kind of figure out if we can find one that's not going to hide away from us. That's being a naughty Steenbok. Generally, they are quite difficult to get on camera. They're quite flighty, which means they like to run away and hide behind things. And being small at the size that they are, it would be obviously a very, very, very kind of difficult life to be out here. You'll find that everything wants to eat you, from eagles to all kinds of other predators like lion and leopard and the likes. So you need to be a bit careful when they're around, and that's why they generally are quite shy and reclusive. Okay, well, we're going to come past a herd of impala now. There'll be lots and lots of these herds as we kind of carry on, so I'm not going to stop at these guys. I want to try and get to that area where we had those leopards this morning, in the hope that we can try and find some tracks and get onto that quite quickly. This morning was very, very cool because we had two leopards actually together there. So there was Hosana and his dad Tingana, and they were kind of in the same area. So I'm going to try and head there and see if there's any sign of the two of them. Good. While I do that though, let's send you back across to Sydney, who's still with his lions who are lounging in the sun.
So you can see that now the male is behind the bushes there. You can see it's like he's behind bars. So this lion is very much inquisitive. You can see that he is listening all the time. When people are talking around here, he doesn't want to sleep completely. But at least looks like a big male. So look at those teeth. So you can see that the canines are very much long. And when the mouth is open, you can see these lions can be very dangerous. You can see now he is lying down and with his neck up. Mostly they do open their legs in order to chase away the parasites and the fleas. Nico viewer, the lions, they do that. If you can check, mostly they expose their underparts to the sun. Reason is to have the sun in order to chase away the parasite. So it's like the birds, when they are doing the sun bathing, they expose themselves for the sun to burn the feathers so that the sun can be able to make them get rid of the parasite. So lions, they open their legs so that the sun can burn in order to get rid of the parasites. So these kind of animals, they do carry some parasites. So you can see the female is lying down there. It's very difficult to see if that is an animal unless you know they are here from a distance. That female is just by the roadside, and when it's sleeping, it's more or less the same level as the level of sand against the edge of the road. So when these lions wake up later on, you will see they are going to greet each other and groom each other and try to maintain the relationship they have as a family. So lions, they stay in pride and they stay in coalition. Rosalind, these lions, you can easily identify them because they do have different markings. And when they are fighting, they do scratch each other. Some of them, you'll see them having some scratches here, and some different areas on them, you'll see different signs. And some, they even got, this animal got some what is called a notch. A notch is whereby they have got numbers which can help us in order to recognize them. So this male lion looks old, not too sure of the age exactly, but to me, this is the lion, it's a matured lion. Lions, when they get to 2 years, they start to become independent, and after that 4 years is when they reach maturity. And when you see them together with a female isolated like this, it means this male is an adult. So the lion stays in pride, and a pride is consisted of the females together with the little ones. Sometimes the males, they do join the prides, but coming and going. And the males, when they go back, they go to what is called a coalition, where you will only see the males walking together. Normally you will see them in a group of 3. So now let's go to one of my colleagues.
Well, yes, I am one of your colleagues, Sydney. I do work with you every single day. Anyway, we are sitting with a buffalo weaver, which is a very cool little bird. We don't actually spend that much time with them, but they build these incredible nests. Unfortunately, there's not one of the nests close by, but they're a really cool bird, and you'll find that they move around and they'll live in groups together. So even though they form a pair, and there'll be 2 birds together, they will build a huge kind of nest with a whole bunch of other buffalo weavers, and it's like being in a block of flats, essentially. Everybody has their own little room within this nest structure, and they will then be able to live inside there. Now, what they're doing at the moment is they're just looking for food more than anything else. When these guys build their nests, they do not build nests out of sticks and things like that. They build it out of grass. They build it out of sticks, particularly thorn trees. That's what they would like to kind of use normally in order to be able to kind of establish their nests and to make a really nice safe nest. And then what they do with all the sticks is then they line it with grass on the inside, and they can go inside there and they have a nice soft place for their little ones. Now, because it's a Saturday and because we've got all of you kids along for the afternoon, we're going to do a little quiz, because that's always a nice thing to do. And so I want to know, this buffalo weaver is one of what's known as the small 5, and because we're doing kids, I want to know if you guys can tell me what are the other 4 small 5 members that you get out here in Africa. And remember, you can't use Google, you've got to try and think about this. So the buffalo weaver is one of them, and I want to know what the other small 5 members are as this buffalo weaver kind of moves around. It's 4 different others that we have in this area, and we should start to see all of them now. In the summer months, it's much easier actually to see all of the small 5. So we'll try and figure that out and try and see who has got their thinking caps on a Saturday afternoon. But our buffalo weaver is going to disappear in the grass, so while I give you time to do that, we're going to keep moving and we're going to go try and check out for our young male leopard. I think that he might be somewhere in these areas. I'm going to go and try and check. He likes to lie at a certain tree just in front here, so I want to go and quickly have a look if he's not sleeping there. If he's not there, then I think maybe he might be in a drainage line not far from here. Riti, so yes, pretty much. They build their nests when they want to lay eggs. Some of them will build a nest and use it as a bit of a shelter prior to the egg laying kind of period, but generally it's just to lay eggs. That's really what it's for. It's to be able to have a safe place and a platform for their little chicks to hatch and grow up and be nice and kind of insulated and kept in a nice kind of place. And so that's really why they build nests. Birds don't just use nests as a place to go and recline and kind of sip cocktails as they enjoy the sort of afternoon sunshine. They like to kind of use it for a bit of a purpose. Most of that things out here in nature are like that, is that they like to do things because it has a purpose to it, not just for the sake of kind of sitting around and doing really little. So you find that they don't actually use nests other than when they've got little ones. For the most part, you might find the odd bird that does. Now, the place that I wanted to check for this leopard is right here. There's an area that is called a bush braai, and so basically when various tourists come out here, they'll sometimes have a dinner out in the bush, and they'll have it out in this area, and there's a little place here where they can have their braai. And what a braai is basically like a barbecue. Now, the male leopard we're looking for, Hosanna, he likes to lie here. He often likes to use the shade of this barbecued wall, and he can lie. It's nice, it's an unbroken shade, so it's a good place, especially right there. You see the nice shade that it's making? That's a place that he likes to lie. Unfortunately today he's not there, so we're just checking just to make 100% sure that he hasn't come up this way. I think he must still be down just to the bottom. When we saw him this morning was not far from here, so I'm hoping that he's going to still be in that area. He unfortunately was robbed by hyenas this morning of his kill. He lost a nyala to the hyenas this morning, and so we're going to try and just figure out if we can kind of find where he's gone from there, because the food itself is gone, and that means that he could potentially have moved around quite a bit. Good. Now I'm going to go and search for my leopard. You're all going to think about the quiz that I've given you, and while we do that, let's send you back across to Sydney, who's got those lions still lounging about.
I am still here with the sleepy lions. I can see that these lions don't want to show me their intentions. They just want to sleep. And I am very much interested to see what they are thinking about to do this afternoon. So look at that. Look at the big animal, the king of the jungle. He's just now trying to groom himself, is scratching himself somewhere on the side by the mane. So this mane, when it's hot like this, it also brings them quite a lot of high temperatures. So it makes it more hot. You can see that is a huge animal. Look at that. We are so lucky to see him walking. By this time of the day, lions, they sleep. Look at that. Where are you going? So maybe he's just moving a spot now, going to lie down somewhere there. Oh, this lion is very much clean. He doesn't want to excrete the droppings where he's lying down. Now you can see it's time to go for the excretion of the droppings. And this is what the lions normally do. When they wake up late afternoon, you'll see them going one by one, going for excretion purposes. Excretion is just is the removal of the metabolic waste. So it's just another way of saying they are trying to excrete the droppings, to get rid of the droppings, or it's a defecation process. So the droppings and urines are very much important to these kind of animals because they use them for scent marking. Lions, they do spray some of the urine in order to mark, and they are equipped with a lot of scent glands. Look at that. Maybe he's going to the water hole now because he's right at the direction of the water hole. So now let's go to Tristan, who's got the big one. Let's see who this big one is.
I do have a very, very big one, the biggest of the big, and that is an elephant who's coming right next to us. What are you doing? Hello. You see there's the back of the car. It's coming to say hello to Craig. It obviously likes Craig's shampoo and is just coming to see what he's up to. Now, it is a nice big herd. It's not just this one elephant that's behind us. You can see we've got a nice herd that's stretched out all over the place. There's some babies and some big females as well. And so really nice to see the ellies. We haven't seen too many ellies over the past few days because it's been very cold and windy and rainy, and the elephants don't really like it when it's windy. And so now that the sun is coming out and the clouds have broken apart, so the elephants are coming out too, and it's always special to spend time with ellies. They're one of my favorite animals. The leopard is first, but these guys are not far behind them. They're such interesting animals and very, very, very tight-knit families, and they look after one another, and obviously the size of them really makes kind of you feel a little intimidated when they walk as close as what that individual walked just now. It was a little young male that kind of walked past us. Now you can see there's still more that are going to come our way and head off in our direction. Most of them will probably go off towards the front of us. There's a big path that they're following that's going from left to right, and so that's why they'll kind of move in that direction. And what I'm hoping is that they're going to eventually start to feed. At the moment, everybody's just walking because I think they're trying to get somewhere. They're probably trying to go for water. There's very, very, very little water around at the moment, and so they're probably heading to a pan called Gallego Pan, which is a pan to our north at the moment, and that's an area where there's really some good quality water for them, and so it's probably the closest water point, and they would have probably only had water maybe a few hours ago, and elephants require quite a bit of water, and particularly when it gets hot, then you'll start to see them really trying to find more and trying to go and cool down and get a nice drink. But you can see when the herd is moving very fast, one needs to have takeaway and be able to eat on the run, and so this one, as it's moving, is still able to feed. And what it's actually doing is it's not feeding on the branch itself, it's feeding off the bark, well, just underneath the bark is what's called the cambium layer, and cambium is like a reddish kind of substance. It's full of nutrients. It's what takes the nutrients from the roots to the leaves and back again, and that helps with the elephant getting all the food it needs at this time of the year. Very cool to see. So Ninja Lady, elephants have tusks for quite a few reasons. Obviously, protection is one of those. Yes. I mean, not that they use them as much for that. I mean, they do try and kind of defend themselves a little bit with their tusks. But probably the primary tool that they have them for is to be able to feed. And so you'll find elephants will break branches with them, they will break bark with them, they'll dig up roots and then use the tusk to pull the root out of the ground. And so those things are vitally important in elephants being able to feed. Also for the big male elephants, it's a show of size, and it's a way of them showing other elephants that they are big adult males, or also making themselves impressive towards females. So a big elephant bull with big tusks, well, the females are going to be quite impressed with him, and probably in all likelihood will actually try and kind of mate with him and have little babies. So, it's important for him to have nice tusks. Now I'm going to just move a little bit so that we can see them a little bit better than what we can now, because they've kind of moved past us. But how lovely is it to see elephants on a nice Saturday afternoon? We're being spoilt this afternoon because we're seeing lots and lots of antelopes. We've seen, all kinds of interesting little creatures, and we see Sydney's got the big lions, and now we've got the big ellies too, which is always good. Hopefully a leopard will pop out. Right, now I hear that we've got one of our first answers for the quiz. So hit me, Kirsty. Let's see what we've got and whether or not someone... All right, so Lady Starfire, you say that a lilac-breasted roller, a black mamba, a fish eagle, and a terrapin. unfortunately not. Now, I'm going to give you a clue for all of this because it's going to help you a little bit. There is the Big Five. Now, I hope all of you know what the Big Five is, but basically the Big Five is basically the 5 biggest animals that we really see out here, or 5 most dangerous animals, let's call it that, that we see. And so that is the elephant, the lion, the buffalo, the leopard, and the rhino. Now, the little 5 will share a name with those animals. So buffalo weaver, like we saw just now, that matches the buffalo. So I'm looking for the other 4, and that will maybe help you guys be able to find out what they are, or to guess what they are. Remember that they will have the same kind of name as the big mammals, but they are not necessarily mammals. They can be birds, they can be all kinds of other things, and so that's a good clue for all of you to be able to try and figure out what the other 4 animals are, and maybe what we can do is a collective effort. So we'll try and see between everybody if we can actually get them. So even if you don't know all 4 of them, you can still guess 1 or 2 if you think that you know. So try and keep going. Right, now when we sit with these guys and they feed, it's always very, very nice to watch the antics of the herd. But it sounds like James up in the Masai Mara, he's got some lions that are also up to no good and are always busy and going all over the place.
Look what we have there. We are out of the rain finally. Well, we haven't moved. One of the storms has gone over. There's another one coming, but in the meantime, we've still got our lions here, the pride. There they are playing, having a great time, just like young kids after they've had their lunch. They're having a good game. Some of the adults are still eating on the buffalo. Doesn't look very nice, so we won't show you that. We'll just show you the fun things that are going on here. You can see they've got big fat bellies, and those big fat bellies are because they've just eaten. They're also playing, I suppose, because it's quite cold. And the more they move around, well, I guess the warmer they become. One of them's got a stick that the other ones want. This is fantastic stuff to watch, isn't that great? There's an older one there, young female chasing what looks like a young male. Now 2 young females having a little bit of a roll and a wrestle. And the big male, well, not very big male, young male eating his stick. And then there's another male stalking them. Now I can tell that's a young male because if you look carefully at his head, you can see he's developing a bit of a mane. In other words, one day he'll look like one of those great big male lions that you've seen on TV. And perhaps like the male lion you've been looking at with Sydney. I think he's with a male lion. And now he's stolen the stick. Finally, there's a bird out, nice singing. Beautiful sound of what sounds like a boo-boo of some sort. And you might just also be able to hear the sound of the wind rustling through the leaves of this forested area in front of us. Apparently you can hear only the wind. Never too late, the lions are, well, I suppose you might describe them as playing like dogs. They're certainly playing like cats. You know, never too late, it's a very interesting one. I know why you say that, I can see why you say that. But I've seen this in many different kinds of mammals, youngsters playing with each other. Obviously our own species does it. Human beings play with each other when they're little. Kids play with each other. I certainly used to play when I was a kid. I sometimes still play, actually. But you'll find it even with things like impala. Young impala will play with each other from time to time. Young rams will pretend to be having a fight. Young females will run around and chase each other. Young wildebeest do the same thing. And so all young mammals engage in this kind of play behavior. And it's not only... I wonder if birds don't do it too. You know, when they first learn to fly, imagine learning to fly for the first time. I'm sure you'd spend a lot of time flying around just for the fun of flying. And because it's fun, it means that valuable exercise is done at the same time as it's being fun. So I'm sure all of you know that it's not too much fun doing exercise if you don't enjoy the game that you're playing. But if you enjoy the game, then the exercise is very good for you, and, well, it's just a good thing to do, and it's healthy. Let's go back to Tristan, who's got some elephants, I think.
We do indeed. The whole herd is walking right past us. They're coming really close, which is amazing. Now we're going to see a little baby followed by its older sibling, and then big female at the back who should walk past us as well. So it should be really nice to kind of see them. She looks as though she's one of the bigger ones. There's still one female that I haven't seen yet that is quite large that should be coming through, so hopefully she'll also come past. But how cool is this? Look at that. The little one is coming right up to behind Craig there. So they're moving very close to where we are, and here comes the really kind of one of the older females within this herd. Isn't she beautiful? Now you can see how much bigger she is, much bigger tusks, bigger head. She's a really nice size elephant, that's for sure, and she's just going back behind the car and past us, and very relaxed at the moment. So nice when they walk in these long lines and come past us. Look at that. You can even hear their feet as they... Now you can hear them as they walk past, which is very cool. How nice was that? That looks like the last one that's going to come down the path itself. So everybody is quite close together. I'm pretty sure they're going for water. They're walking very fast at the moment, and water is in the direction that they're going. So we're going to just keep up with them. They're all walking in a single file down the road now, which is quite cool. So let's just turn around so you can actually see what I'm talking about. All right. So, Kat, you're asking where do elephants go to avoid the elements like wind or rain? So we were talking earlier about the fact that when it's windy, the ellies disappear a little bit. Well, they go into thick bush, so they'll try and find somewhere where it's a little bit dense, where there's not too much kind of wind coming through, and they'll also try and sort of go into drainage lines. So anywhere where there's a little dip that can just kind of hide them out a little bit. But look at that, there's everybody walking down the road together, one by one. Isn't that nice and special? I always love ellies when they walk down the road. It's so relaxing just to watch them as their ears gently flap, cooling their bodies while they walk along. Very cool. Nice little family. This is not a very big herd of elephants. This is about the average size that we would get out here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, I think, of them, which is about right. Normally 13, or anywhere between 10 and 20 would be about the average size for Kruger, although you do get herds much bigger than this. You do get herds that can go over 50, 60, and really, if you get very lucky, a herd that goes over 100, which is pretty incredible to see. Now you can imagine 13 elephants is this many like this. Imagine 100 of them. It's absolutely incredible, but still just moving along. And you can see what they're doing. They split into family groups, so you'll have each female with their little babies will be walking together, and those females will be related, so they'll be sisters or aunts, or and then they'll have all their little babies and they'll all walk together. Very cool. Right, I'm going to try and catch up with them because they're still kind of heading northwards, so they're getting quite far from where I am. All right, here's some more answers to our quiz. Let's hear what we've got. So, Binky and Tom, well done. You are the stars of our kids show today. Well done. You got all of them right. And so the small five, or the little five as we call them, is based on a lot of different animals. And so it's not just things like mammals like the big five is, but you have a reptile, you have insects, and you have mammals as well. So we saw, and birds, and we saw that we had the buffalo weaver. Now the next one in the queue, let's do, is the rhino beetle. So you'll find that they come out now in the summer months. When it gets a bit of rain, you start to see them coming out, and they've got this big horn on the front of their face, basically, and that's why they're called a rhino beetle. Then you get an elephant shrew. So much like the elephants who've got a trunk, the elephant shrew has got a long nose that kind of goes along, and they can be seen any time of the year, but are very tricky to see. Normally all you see is them just running across the road. You don't see them very easily at all. Then you get what will also be coming out now is leopard tortoises. So anytime we get rain, you will find the leopard tortoise will come out. And last but not least is a very cool insect that hunts ants, and it's called an ant lion. And so we see them also pretty much all year round, which is quite nice. So, well done to you guys. That's very, very good. I'm glad that you managed to get them. I was hoping that somebody would get it right, and I'm glad that you're all switched on and have gotten the correct answers. Right now we should be able to see the ellies coming past one more time as we kind of get into this little section here. You can see they've found themselves a new tree that's got nice new leaves on it. We were talking earlier about the kudu eating new leaves, and you can see the elephant is doing the same. So they are going to, even though that tree's got thorns on it, they'll use that strong trunk that's got thick skin, and they'll pull off those nice new little green leaves, and they'll eat those because that will be very, very nutritious for them. They'll be very happy when they get those nice new leaves. But isn't this beautiful? Can you hear them walking? You would think that for such big animals they'd make more noise than that, but every now and then you'll hear the rough skin scraping against a branch, but otherwise they walk quite quietly, and that's because they've got very padded feet that allow them kind of a soft walk, if you want to call it that. It's like us with shoes on. There's little pads there, and so it makes it a little quieter than if you had hard hoofed edge that would scrape along. That would make a little bit more noise. But isn't that cool? Beautiful, beautiful afternoon light as well that's coming through. So we're being spoiled with this ellie herd. They're very relaxed and very patient with us. They're allowing us to follow them around, which is nice. You can see not one of them is even in any way gesturing that we are invading their space. There's none of them have turned to face us as they've walked past. There's no ears that are out, no sniffing of the air with the trunk, and definitely no sort of aggression in terms of kind of turning at us and trumpeting and making a noise. So everybody is very relaxed as they just come past us slowly but surely. Very, very cool. There's going to be one more that's going to, two more. Is it two more or three more? Two more that are going to make their way past us. So they're right at the back of the herd. Generally, it's young males that you'll see right at the back of the herd. They normally are the ones that don't like to kind of listen to everybody else and move as fast. And so sometimes you'll see them, although, is this a young boy? No, it's a female with one of her cars. So I'm surprised she's at the back. Normally, it's the young boys that kind of fly, that move around towards the back end of the herd. But you can see, like I say, slowly coming through. No, it is a young boy that is with here. So there's two young boys at the back here. Right, our ellies are slowly moving along. They're still heading northwards, and so we're probably going to carry on, see what else we can find. While we do that, though, let's see what Sydney's lion's up to, and also so he can say goodbye from all of us.
So you can see that now the lions, they are in the middle of their deep sleep. You can see the female is not moving at all. So maybe soon as the temperatures goes down is when they will start to show us what they are thinking about to do this afternoon. So you can see that the paws are very much big. So this is what you see normally on the ground. When we are doing trekking, this is what we look at. And if you can check here, this lion has got 3 lobes. So the cat has got the 3 lobes, and which makes them very much unique compared to the dogs and the hyenas. So dogs and hyenas, if you look, they have got only 2 lobes. So these cats, they've got some claws. It's just that these claws are hidden. They can retrieve them and hide them and bring them out when they want to use them. And you cannot see those claws by the tracks. So unless they want to use it for grabbing or when it's slippery. So this lovely sighting bring us to the end of the school drive, and thank you very, very much to all the kids who participated on questioning us while we were out here interacting with the wild.